Hi, I'm Georgie Frost. Automation Consultants is an IT services and software company based in Reading, whose principal partnerships are with Atlassian and Amazon Web Services. Their mission is to automate the whole software lifecycle. Well, what does that mean and how do they do it? We'll find out. Francis Miers is director at Automation Consultants and joins me now. Francis, welcome.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Now, before we get into the details, I want to ask you about the cloud. Is using the cloud a vital part of modern business or merely something that gives business an advantage?
I would say the advantage is becoming such that it is becoming a vital part of modern business. It's so much more convenient to do a great many things and so much quicker and easier to get started using the cloud that those that don't use it at all will find themselves at a significant disadvantage.
What advice would you give to legacy companies struggling to get to grips with using the cloud?
Well, the good news is that using the cloud is, in most respects, easier than using conventional IT. For a start, there's no infrastructure, or at least no server-side infrastructure. With legacy IT, it's difficult to have a data center with racks of servers and staff maintaining and operating those servers. With the cloud, you don't need any of that. The objections that are most commonly seen in the cloud adoption are security and data sovereignty. So with security, unless you're engaged in some sort of government level military grade security and activities, the cloud is likely to be as secure, if not more secure, than a corporate data center. That is, if it's managed correctly, and but both it and security in a corporate data center would have to be managed correctly to be as secure as industry standards require. The security is a critical issue. It's not getting any less critical with the passing of time, and an increasing number of companies, or cybercrime is a growth industry, I'm afraid. And so any user, both either of the cloud or of conventional IT, would have to pay very serious attention to that. However, the security dispositions of most cloud providers are probably stronger than those that even large organizations can provide in their own data centers. So managed right, security can be tighter or just as tight with the cloud. As regards data sovereignty, certain governments and certain regulators require regulated organizations to hold their data in a certain geographical location. And in some situations, cloud providers don't provide data storage in that location or won't guarantee that it will be stored in that location. And in that situation, then maybe a cloud provider wouldn't be able to provide a service that meets the regulatory requirements of an organization. However, that is actually quite a rare scenario. Certainly, if for companies who are based in the EU, any EU regulator would permit hosting in any of the 27 EU countries. So it's a huge area, it's a huge market. And it's very unlikely that there's going to be a cloud service that's not available in the EU. Similarly, with the US, again, it's very unlikely that there's going to be a cloud provider that's only going to provide a service that's available outside, or that's with data hosted outside the US. So I think the barriers to cloud adoption are falling away and are very much surmountable now. And my advice to legacy companies who may not yet have gone in for the cloud in a big way is to begin doing so.
I just want to go back on what you said, because you mentioned it a couple of times. Managed correctly, managed right. What are some of the more common, perhaps easiest mistakes that some businesses are making with the cloud, that they're not managing it correctly?
So if you take, say, I mean, most of the big cloud providers like Amazon Web Services or Microsoft Azure or Google Cloud Platform have what's called a sort of split security responsibility. So what that means is that AWS, Amazon Web Services, will take care of the security that only it can manage. And the rest of the security is up to the customer to manage themselves. And that exists because if you take the simplest case of, let's say I hire or rent a server in Amazon Web Services. If I want, I can connect that server to the internet with no security whatsoever, all the firewall ports open. I can load any software I like on it, even old vulnerable software. In that situation, it would be vulnerable to attack, to cyber attack. And Amazon Web Services wouldn't wish to stop me from doing that, because the whole point of their service is that you can use it for a wide range of purposes. But they make it clear that beyond a certain point, the responsibility for security would be mine and not theirs. So they would guarantee that their own systems wouldn't be compromised, and that server, while it's in their data center and might be vulnerable to attack, would not the attack would not go any further than that server. So where the customer's responsibility stops and theirs begins, is where the cyber attack wouldn't be able to go further. So that would be the border between what they take care of and what they expect their customers to take care of. So customers do have the freedom to set things up as they like, but they should obviously use that freedom wisely and make sure that once they've got their workloads set up in a cloud environment such as AWS, that they set it up with best practice security and don't make themselves vulnerable to cyber attack. And if they do that correctly, then their platforms can be extremely secure.
So what are some of the services you provide to help those who are looking to increase their business's usage of the cloud?
We can provide a range of services, which include migration. So if they've got an on-premise workload, we can help them migrate that to the cloud. We can provide solution architect services so that the system, once it's in the cloud, can be designed or redesigned so that it meets best practice. Obviously, once you've gone from a corporate data center into the cloud, there are more possibilities in terms of flexibility to scale your system up and down, to create copies of your environment, to deploy services and undeploy them quickly, which don't exist in the corporate data center. So once a customer's made the move, then they would want to take advantage of those services, and we help them do that. So those are two of the key services we provide. We also increasingly are working to provide our customers with exposure to Amazon Web Services AI and machine learning capabilities. They have a very extensive set of such capabilities, ranging from complete do-it-yourself, so you can set up your own AI software and run it all on their infrastructure, to kind of pre-packaged services where, for example, natural language processing, machine translation, which are just services provided on tap within Amazon Web Services and can be incorporated into the customer's IT offerings. So yeah, those are the kind of services we provide.
So what are the most common issues, though, you hear from companies that are undergoing digital transformation?
Well, there are a very long and very wide range of different issues. I think the key thing is to get your team on board and to have buy-in at all levels of the organization, and that requires first of all, the senior management to buy into it, but they need to bring their people with them, and they need to communicate to their teams about why they're making the move and the benefits of the move. And then I think once everybody has bought into the concept, then the whole process becomes much easier, because people are willing to do it, and they can see the benefits, and any issues which do crop up are seen early by the people on the spot and dealt with in the best way.
I guess one of those is a concern about the transformation being a bit bumpy, should we say? So how can automation consultants ensure that that process is as smooth and stress-free as possible?
So we would advise, as I say, a lot of training or communication with the customers' teams, and we would be more than willing to take part in that. And to one of the services we provide is training, and over and above that, I would say that it's important to have a carefully laid out plan, and for the plan to be as incremental as it can be. So it's important to go in small steps, and then once those small steps have been taken successfully, then scale up and go to bigger steps. We have a fair bit of experience with educating teams to move to more updated techniques, to move to cloud-based solutions. And what we found is that the most successful approach is one where it starts with a relatively small number of people and a lot of training and communication. And once they've made the move successfully, then rolling that out more widely within the organization.
Can you tell us more about how automation consultants' own tailor-made products work in tandem with the leading products that you offer from Atlassian, IBM, and other software developers?
Yeah, certainly. So on the services side, we deliver some structured programs which can be seen as products, which help our customers to get started in the cloud, to if they are starting from scratch, to move to the cloud if they've already got infrastructure and workloads outside the cloud, and to improve what they already have in the cloud. And we call those Cloud Start for a new start, Cloud Shift for migration to the cloud, and Cloud Pace for improving what they're doing in the cloud. And they're structured programs which we've found that work well for customers in those three situations. In addition to that, we have our own software products which are focused on the Atlassian ecosystem, and they include something called Compliance for Confluence, which allows customers to classify the data they store in Confluence along various different security levels that they define. And it also can be configured to identify sensitive data and then act accordingly. So things like if there are credit card details or IP addresses or various different forms of sensitive data which the customer can also define, it will classify the data according to the customer's own scheme. And we found that that's very successful with banks and other regulated organizations, where they have a lot of control, or they need to have a lot of control over exactly what they're storing in the way of data. We also have a product called Optimizer for Jira, which is focused on Atlassian's Jira product, which keeps a large-scale Jira running smoothly. And we found that is very popular with larger customers, because Jira, through its very flexibility, can gather too much configuration such that there's a loss of efficiency and speed in using it, and our product helps keep it performing well. So yeah, in the world of cloud migration, we have Cloud Start, Cloud Shift, and Cloud Pace. And in our own software products include Compliance for Confluence and Optimizer for Jira.
Finally, Francis, I want to ask you, how do you see the business landscape looking 5 years, say, into the future?
Well, the business landscape is quite wide, but within the realm of IT, I would say that the most companies will increase their adoption of the cloud. I don't think it takes a rocket scientist to work that one out. And increasingly, their IT will be focused on interfacing multiple cloud systems, and the most customized bit of what they do will be probably built on a platform such as Amazon Web Services. The trend will continue of customers and all organizations actually relying on IT not only to do their back office work, but also to provide their specialist value to their customers. And we see that in every industry where software is an increasing part of the value that non-tech companies add to their products and services. So in summary, I think the IT will move much more to the cloud, and that cloud will consist of software as a service for packaged products such as Jira or Salesforce, and infrastructure as a service where it comes to customers' own IT that they use to provide services and products to their customers. And the IT department, the CIO and his team, will be focused on getting those elements to work well together, increasingly all in the cloud. So that's where I see things going, and in 5 years from now, that process will be further down the track.
Can I ask, if I'd have asked you that question 1.5, 2 years ago, would your answer have been the same? Or do you think the pandemic has sped things up, changed things, transformed things? Or were we heading that way anyway?
I think we were heading that way anyway, but as the CEO of Microsoft said, 5 years progress was compressed into 1 year by the pandemic because of the huge amount of remote working that happened. And so I think the pandemic has accelerated a process that was happening already.
And where's that placed automation consultants?
We were very fortunate in that the pandemic seems to have affected us very lightly. A few of our customers were in industries which were heavily affected, such as travel and hospitality, but the majority of them required more of our products and services, and so we've been lucky enough to do well during that time. So we hope to continue doing well, but it's hard to tell whether the exit from the pandemic will, or to what extent the exit from the pandemic will return things back to the way they were, or whether they will continue to be as much online as they have been in the depths of the lockdown.
Time will tell. Francis Miers, Director at Automation Consultants, thank you so much.
Thank you.